In the book of Judges, it talks about how Israel had done evil in the sight of God. And as punishment, he turns them over to the Palestinians for 40 years. Then it goes on to tell you about a man named Manoah and his wife. Now, Manoah was from Zorah, and his wife was barren. She couldn't have children. She couldn't conceive. And an angel appeared to his wife and told her that she was going to conceive a son. And she was not to drink any wine, and she was not to eat anything unclean. Because the son that she was going to conceive, was a Nazarite to God, meaning he was going to do great things for God. God had a plan for his life. And the other instruction she was given was to never put a razor to the child's head or cut his hair. So he could never have his hair cut. He had to let his hair grow. That was a command by God. And he was going to he was going to begin. Now, in that part of the Bible, it says begin. It doesn't say he was going to free the Israelis. It says that he was going to begin to deliver Israel from the Palestinians. That was a very important part, the begin. Now, Manoah, she had told Manoah what had happened. And Manoah was just like, you sure it was the angel? You sure it was of God? So he prayed, and he asked God to send this angel again so that they can know every bit of the instructions they needed for this child. So God sent the angel again. And the angel told him, you've got all the instructions you need. What I told her the first time is all the instructions you need. And they offered to have the angel over for dinner, and he's like, no. What you can do, though, is you can offer God sacrifice, a sacrifice of the animal. So they did as they were told. And they were worried that God was going to kill him. But they then realized that if God was going to kill him, they would have not been told to sacrifice an animal. So then Samson was all grown up. And Samson goes and he takes a Philistine wife, much to the dismay of his mom and dad. They're like, you got all kinds of other people, and he had brothers after that, just to let you know. So can't you just pick a wife from one of your brothers around here? Pick a wife around here that's from our town. He's like, no, I want a wife from the Philistines. So he picks a wife that's from the Philistines, and he brings her home. They didn't know that this was God's plan, but this was God's plan. So as he was going down to Timnah, he comes upon a young lion, and the young lion goes to attack him. But God goes within him, and he tears that lion up. The Spirit of God goes within him, and he tears that lion up like it was a little goat, And he doesn't tell anybody because he's even amazed. So he doesn't even tell his mom and dad what happened. And then he goes back and there later and sees the carcass of the lion, and there is honey, bees that were making honey inside the carcass of this lion. So he takes some and he eats it, and he takes it back to his mom and dad to eat, and he never told them where it came from. So they had no idea that it had came from this carcass. So then he throws a wedding party, and after he marries his wife, he throws a wedding party, and he invites 30 of his companions there, and male companions there, and he gives this riddle, and he says, if you guys can solve this riddle in 7 days, I will give you each a new wardrobe. But if you can't solve the riddle, then you have to give me a new wardrobe. So these men were ruthless. They wanted to know know what this riddle was, but they couldn't figure it out. So they went to his wife and they threatened her and told her, if you do not find out what this riddle, the answer to this riddle is, we're going to burn you, your father, and his house up. So of course she's going to try to find out what this riddle is. So she cries and she cries and she cries and tells him, if you love me, you'll tell me what the answer to this riddle is. And he says, well, if I don't even tell my mom and dad, why would I tell you? Well, she cries for 7 more days, and then finally he just, he had enough of her crying and coming at him with it, so he told her. And she told the companions. And he was so angry with what had happened that he told his dad to take his wife away. And God had come upon him again, and he killed all 30 of those men and took their wardrobe. So his wife had been gone a while, and he decided he was missing her. So he goes and he tells his dad, I want my wife. Well, his dad gave his wife to one of his friends, the best man, and didn't tell him. And he was angry. He was angry. So he was so angry because Samson had a temper. Now, Samson had a real bad temper, which got him into all kinds of trouble. So he was so angry with that, he went to the Philistines and he burned down all of their crops. Burned them down. And they were so angry that he burned them down, that they went and burned his wife and her father, set them on fire, and took them out. And he was angry again. So this was going back and forth, and they were, fighting each other, going back, and people were getting killed over this. There were people getting killed over this, and this went on for a long time. And then Samson goes off, and he goes off to a different town to find a harlot, to be with a harlot. And he, does his thing with the harlot, and then he gets away from her, and he goes and he finds this woman. Her name was Delilah. And he falls madly in love with Delilah. And as he's falling madly in love with Delilah, the Philistines were wanting to know what was his strength. How could they get to him? What was his strength and his weakness, so that they could take him over? Because all kinds of people came up against him and could not defeat him. So she takes money. They tell her, if you will find this out for us, we will give you money. So she takes, and she plays these little games with him, trying to get him to tell her what it is that was his strength. And he would not tell her. He would not tell her until like the 4th time. And then he started just pouring his heart out to her, telling her everything about him and how he, because he loved her. And she set him up to be taken over by the Philistines. And they paid her. And then, this story is longer than this video. So, I am going to have to make a part 2. So, catch me on the part 2. But it gets really good from here. Hallelujah. So, stay tuned for part 2. God bless you.